Caleb Calhoun with Off the Hook Sports here, joined by 10-year NFL player, 4-time Pro Bowler, former Titan, host of 104.5 The Zone, and Titans Radio, Blaine Bishop. Blaine, how's it going?
Yeah, good. And the Blaine and Mickey Show, 1 to 3 on 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey Show, 1 to 3, 104.5 The Zone. There we go.
Yeah, that's a lot.
In Nashville. Blaine, thanks for doing this.
Appreciate it, Caleb.
You live in Nashville now. We talk about, and I know you've been around here for a while, and I remember the early 2010s, there was a moment where it seemed like maybe Vanderbilt could compete with Tennessee and fan base in Nashville, right? But is Tennessee just taking over now that Heupel's back? Heupel's got him back?
I don't know if it ever got to where Vanderbilt was competing as far as fan base, but yeah. I mean, there was some down times there, but Tennessee is. I think Tennessee rules the state. Even unless the Titans have it going really good and playoff contending team, this is always going to be University of Tennessee's team. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and what about the Titans versus the Vols? Was there ever a point where the Titans maybe overtook the Vols when the Vols were down about 10 years ago?
It may have. I would say so because when we first moved here in '97, it was where everybody was going to the UT games on Saturday and driving up Sunday, and then going to the Titans games. And for a while there, when the Titans had it going, and it was a little bit down for Tennessee. The Titans kind of took control. But now that Heupel's got it rolling, it's going to be an interesting discussion now.
Well, I got a really funny story for you real quick before we move to Heupel because you talked about moving down to '97. I'm from Memphis.
So you saw us play there in '97,
yes,
right?
I saw the game against the Raiders. And, Memphis is the one city that's like its own city, a little bit isolated.
Well, see, we didn't know that until we got here. And we were like, well, Memphis is almost like they're not part of Tennessee. Yeah. I was like, what? Yeah, that's Memphis, Tennessee.
So, if you go when the Vols play at Memphis, it actually is a little more split, Tigers and Vols fans in college.
Yeah.
So I want to
huge rivalry. Yeah.
Yes, big rivalry. I want to talk a little bit about the Heupel offense, and you as a former secondary player, how you think. And I mean, obviously, part of it is Georgia just had the cornerback, so it wasn't, But is that really the only way you can truly defend this offense? Is have the cornerbacks be fast enough to hang with the receivers?
Man, well, also the slot guy too. So you got to have some man-to-man. Heupel's he's really somewhat of a mad scientist, genius when it comes to running that no huddle, fast pace, up tempo, getting the guys. Off kilter, if you want to say that. And it's really tough to play against. You can come up with some analogies of some things to do. I don't even know if they would work, what I would come up. I'm not a coach, so, I really don't know. I would maybe line up 4 guys, all at the same time, and then before the snap, then move to something. I don't know if you even have time to do that, so he can't disguise. Because what happens is they look over to the sideline, then they see what you're in, and then he calls a play, and it's going to work. I mean, it's just, it's kind of, but they're doing it at such a rapid speed. Like I was counting. They run play almost, I think it was like 12 seconds. It's like, man, that's unbelievable. Like, you can never do that in the NFL because guys will get hurt, banged up. It's just that's just too fast. Now you can do 2 minutes. So, but his concepts, I think a lot of those concepts would actually work in the National Football League. I just don't know if he would catch people off guard with the fast pace. But man, he's a pretty sharp guy and offensive genius. I'm going to give him that. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. What he's done at Tennessee, it's not easy. And then now I think the question is, can he continue to keep that pace and continue to win it? Because now some of it were Pruitt's players. He didn't recruit Hooker. So now can he get Milton, someone who he had come in there, and that's somebody he recruited? Can he now get those guys to perform consistently at a high level that are now his players, and then get the defense to do? Continue to grow with Banks and everybody and see if they can continue to get some pass rush as well as secondary guys to, hold the fort, because the more times they get the ball, they're almost unstoppable. Really. I mean, Nick Saban couldn't even stop. I mean, we saw it, right? It was a shootout.
Yeah, it was.
And we all know, well, he is still the GOAT, but maybe just not number one now as far as currently, but he's the GOAT of college football for sure.
Oh, yeah. I watched that game last year, and funny enough, I will never forget watching it thinking, if it wasn't for Bryce Young alone, Tennessee's probably winning that game by like 30.
Yeah, Bryce Young, he's a little, I call him a magician. He was kind of like that point guard, but, and playing football. It was like, man, and sometimes you're just like, man, the guy that's barely 6 feet, how is he doing some of the things he was doing? So he's a pretty special player. I'm interested to see how much success he has in the National Football League, because everybody, judges everything based off of your size and everything else. But he seems to not have an issue from high school to college, and we'll see if he can do it in the pros.
Yeah, and talking about the pros, so we talked Vols versus Titans a little while ago. You're in Nashville, which should be Titans country.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people here within the state and who cover sports in the state, myself included, feel like Hendon Hooker's got better NFL potential than Will Levis, even though Will Levis was drafted higher. Where are you going with that?
I would probably concur with that. I guess because you get to see more of Hooker. And I think what people are, taking out of context is I just think Hendon Hooker is a much sharper, polished quarterback. And when I'm talking about that, I don't need my quarterback to be off the charts athletically. I need him to be off the charts mentally. And that's where I think Hooker's got him. And you see Will Levis, he's been in practice every day, man. He's built up. He's built like a tight end. This guy can run. He can do a lot of the things Hooker can do, but he's not as quick as a thinker. He's not as accurate. He's inconsistent in his play by throwing all those interceptions. So I think Hooker, in my mind, and actually we talked about this on the Blaine and Mickey show here on 104.5 The Zone. I thought Hooker was potentially a better talent to play in the NFL than Will Levis, and we saw that didn't go that way. Hooker went third round, so what do I know? But I think there's a mental side, being that I've been in the NFL, and I think the mental side is really what took me over the top. There was a lot of guys a lot better than me, but when we got on the football field, because of my mental sharpness and capabilities to think quickly, which quarterbacks have to do, I think really put me over the top over a lot of players.
Yeah, does it seem like not quarterbacks, NFL franchises, do you think sometimes a quarterback like Hooker can get hurt by the offense he's in? Like they question the hypo offense if it translates to the NFL, but it's more about, like you said, the sharpness of the quarterback, because I think there are questions about Steve McNair's skills translating to the NFL.
Right.
But he was sharp and able to pick it up, right?
Well, it took him a minute. It took him 3 years. I think that's going to hold true until Hooker or a quarterback shows that in Hypo's offense, those quarterbacks can have success in the Nashville. And I think Hooker will. I really do. So until that happens, I think the NFL is always going to kind of question that and see if those, no different than even the receivers or any other position, but in particular the quarterback for sure. So Hooker has success. I think then that'll be a topic that won't be discussed ever again. All it takes is one.
That's true. I always said one of the things Hypo's offense does is manipulate the rules. I will say that one thing I distinctly remember about watching you play, you like to hit. You were a fan of hitting.
It became that,
yeah. Would you be able to translate in today's NFL with your love of hitting? Because it seems like they're just cutting that out all the time.
No, I would definitely have in my contract every time I got fined that the team would pay for it and not me. So, then I would probably change my tack a little bit and probably go after the rock a little bit more. That was kind of my stick. I really wasn't. I was physical coming out of college. But I was a cornerback, so I was kind of I would be more of a nickel dime guy if I came out today than an actual safety, because that's where I started. And then through multiple injuries, then that moved me to safety there in my second year. So then I ended up being stuck there. And then once you have success, then I moved. So it's a tough deal, but it's kind of getting that way a little bit in college. You got to sit out for a half or a game or two if you get a hit. You got to be careful out there, trying to make the game safer, and naturally then that leads to all the offense getting all the breaks, and everybody's coming to watch what offense touchdown. So the NFL is no different.
Exactly. Do you think? So thinking about the SEC this season, do you think that Tennessee is at a level where they can finally? I mean, I think Georgia's better overall talent-wise. Do you think Tennessee enough where they could pull out that win at Neyland Stadium in November?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, you could say the equalizer is the offense and Hypo and his scheme and his system. So 2 years ago, Georgia and Tennessee, it was a real close game in the first quarter and a half, a little bit, until Georgia just said, you know what, we're throwing all that out, and we're going to say, you get that guy, you get that guy, you get that guy. And then their physicality, I guess, 2 years ago when they had all those guys get drafted in the first 3 rounds. I mean, all over the place on defense. So I think it is. I think it's the equalizer. So I think Tennessee's success really just it's Milton. If he can be consistent and hit not the deep balls, the accuracy in the intermediate routes and the shorter passes. If he shows any consistency with that, he's going to hit some of those deep balls. There's just no way around. He's got a rocket launcher of an arm. So if they do that, I think they can beat anybody. And anybody in the country.
Blaine, thanks for doing this. I know you got to get to your show, but I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
And with Blaine Bishop, this has been Caleb Calhoun and Off the Hook Sports.